Chair Gensler, it's great to see you this morning. There's a phrase online where they say, tell it to me like I'm 5. So for those who are uninitiated into what happened here, tell it to me like I'm 5. What was Kraken doing, and what was the problem that you were trying to solve?
Andrew, what Kraken was doing was asking the American public for their coins, crypto tokens, and saying, I'll give you a return, 4% to 21% returns. And the problem was they were not disclosing to the investing public the risk that the investing public was entering into. And we have a basic bargain in the United States since the 1930s. You can take whatever risks you want. Companies like Kraken can offer investment contracts and investment schemes, but they have to have full, fair, and truthful disclosure. And this puts the investors who watch your program in a better position. That's our basic bargain. They were not complying with that basic law.
So how does this, though, differ, for example, from some of the other firms out there, including Coinbase, who offer yield products?
Whether you call it, the labels don't matter. Long ago, Supreme Court Justice Marshall said this so eloquently. It's not about the labels, it's about the underlying economics. And this really should put everyone on notice in this marketplace, whether you call it lend, whether you call it earn, whether you call it yield, whether you offer what's called an annual percentage yield, APY, that doesn't matter. If somebody's taking their tokens and transferring it to that platform, the platform controls it. And guess what happens if they go bankrupt? You stand in line at the bankruptcy court. There's a saying in crypto that says, not your keys, not your coins. So those other platforms should take note of this and seek to come into compliance, do the proper disclosures and registration and the like.
Okay, but here's one of the big issues, as I think you know, which is this staking service is going to no longer be available to customers in the U.S. But interestingly, they're going to still offer the same product internationally, abroad, outside of the United States. And so it raises this larger policy question as to whether crypto, these types of products just move offshore. Maybe that's what you want, and that's a good thing. But then whether what you do about the American citizenry who's then using VPNs and all sorts of other things to skirt around what's happening here.
Look, we're technology neutral at the SEC, but we're clearly very focused on investor protection. 330 million Americans are our clients. These firms, Kraken knew how to register, others know how to register. It's just a form on our website. They can come in, talk to our talented people in disclosure review teams, and if they want to offer staking, we're neutral. Come in, register, because investors need that disclosure. What are you doing with the tokens? Are you trading against the tokens? Are you borrowing against the token? Are you using them for your own purposes? And we've seen this in the crypto field. So investors not only need that disclosure, but it's the law.
Gary, I want to read you something. This is Hester Pierce, someone you know well. He's a Republican commissioner of the SEC.
And great respect for my fellow commissioner.
He disagreed with your decision. She did. I'm sorry. She disagreed with the decision. Let me just read you something. Using enforcement actions to tell people what the law is in an emerging industry is not an efficient or fair way of regulating, she says. Moreover, staking services are not uniform, so one-off enforcement actions and cookie-cutter analysis does not cut it. A paternalistic and lazy regulator settles on a solution like this one in this settlement. What is your reaction?
Well, the commissioner and I have a very good relationship. We chat regularly and have lively policy debates and debates around these matters. Let me step it back. The SEC staff is really dedicated, serve the public, work hard staff. And we have for decades used the various tools Congress has given us to protect the investing public. And if that means somebody is breaking the law, non-compliant, we do use enforcement. where there where there are authorities that Congress has given us, we do write regulations, and we do both. And I would even just say, if you look at the history of insider trading, a lot of what we've done around insider trading starting decades ago was through enforcement actions. This is not something new at all. All we're saying to this non-compliant, generally largely non-compliant industry is come in and properly follow the law. Disaggregate, segregate the customer funds and protect the customer funds, which is what broker dealers under the law need to do. The exchanges, register as an exchange and disaggregate those hedge fund opportunities that you're taking and market making. So there's a clear way to do this, and there's forms on our website. I think it's just a talking point that the industry is using. They know how to do this. They are just choosing not to do it.
Well, let me ask you, talking about clarity, and this is maybe a philosophical, sort of broader policy perspective. I think that there is a common view that your office is using all available means effectively to keep crypto out of the mainstream financial system through enforcement, accounting rules, inspections. Clearly, there's not real guidance yet on custody. And this may very well be a reasonable policy choice, if that's the choice. The question is, if that's the choice, why not just say it publicly?
We're using all available tools. We're talking directly to market participants. We take the meetings. We say, this is how you comply. There's a handful of tokens that have actually registered. The intermediaries, the storefronts, if you wish, the casinos that people are investing in and investing at need to properly comply and disentangle these bundled products. The business model that they've set up is rife with conflicts. And so we've been very candid with them. I've done it in multiple speeches since I came to the agency. We'll continue to engage. We're technology neutral. But if this field has any chance of survival and success, it's time-tested rules and laws to protect the investing public. Disclosure, full, fair, and truthful disclosure. Address conflicts and disaggregate these bundled businesses, and don't have your hand in the customer's pocket using their funds for your own platforms.
But in terms of the larger industry and whether you even seem to suggest the larger industry may or may not survive. One of the pieces of that survival to some degree, I think, has been this idea that one day there may be something like a Bitcoin ETF or something else. Grayscale, as you know, appealing the SEC's Bitcoin ETF decision, which is effectively to say it can't happen. Is there any path at which you think either that specific ETF or something like it could?
The paths, I'm not going to speak about one, but let me generally say, Andrew, the path forward is well trodden. Whether it's large companies that you follow every day, the Apples and other tech companies, or the automobile companies, manufacturing companies know how to register their offerings. The exchanges like the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ and so forth know how to be compliant and come into registration. The big broker dealers and the small, thousands of broker dealers, the mutual funds. I dare go on. We have tens of thousands of registrants that properly, in good faith, comply. They register, they make the proper disclosures. It's time for this group to do so. The runway is getting awfully short, and we're here to try to protect the investing public.